Amy Carlson was not always Mother God. She was once a woman from Texas, a mother of three, a manager at McDonald's. Her life appeared on the surface quite ordinary, but underneath something else was stirring. There was this feeling of profound disconnection from the world around her, a sense that she was destined for something far greater than the mundane reality she inhabited. She began speaking of voices, of a higher calling. She told her family she was on a mission that would eventually lead her to abandon everything she knew, including her children. It was a journey into a different reality, one she would construct for herself and others. This transformation from Amy Carlson to Mother God was not instantaneous. It was a gradual process, pieced together from a mosaic of New Age beliefs, conspiracy theories, and what she claimed were direct communications with celestial beings. She presented herself as a divine figure, a 19-billion-year-old being who had lived over 500 past lives. She claimed to be Jesus Christ, Joan of Arc, and Marilyn Monroe. This was her truth, and she delivered it with a conviction that was both baffling and, to some, utterly compelling. She was creating a new mythology, with herself at its very center. Her new identity was broadcast to the world through the internet. YouTube became her pulpit. Who were the people who left their lives behind to follow Amy Carlson? They were not a monolith. They came from different backgrounds, different parts of the country, but they often shared a common thread: a history of trauma, a feeling of being an outsider, a deep-seated mistrust of mainstream institutions. They felt let down by society, by medicine, by their families, by the systems that should have protected them. They were searching for answers, for healing, for a sense of belonging that had eluded them. In Amy, they found a charismatic figure who seemed to understand their pain. She spoke their language: spiritual searching, systemic disillusionment. She acknowledged their suffering and offered a grand, cosmic explanation. Their struggles were framed as a larger battle between light and dark. She promised not just comfort, but a role in a divine plan to save humanity. For the powerless, that promise is a powerful, almost irresistible lure. The group, Love Has Won, became a surrogate family. The belief system of Love Has Won was a bewildering tapestry woven from disparate threads: New Age spirituality, Christian eschatology, ufology, popular conspiracy theories. Amy Carlson as Mother God, a divine being, who had come to Earth in a physical body to lead humanity into a higher dimension of consciousness. She was the central figure, the source of all truth and power. Her word was absolute. Her teachings evolved daily, live streams and personal pronouncements. At the core, a cosmic battle. Mother God and her galactic team versus dark forces, the Cabal, the Archons, blamed for the world's pain and suffering. Followers said the Cabal controlled governments, media, financial systems. Supporting Mother God was acting in this celestial war. Every action, making a donation, sharing a live stream. The internet was the lifeblood of Love Has Won. It was their church, it was their recruitment office, it was their primary stage. YouTube, Facebook, they built a global audience. They ran daily live streams, often many hours, titled Daily Energy Updates, channeling sermons, personal anecdotes, interactions with followers. The digital realm let them bypass traditional gatekeepers and speak directly to anyone online. During broadcasts, sacred and profane blurred. In one moment, Amy might be channeling a message from a deceased celebrity like Robin Williams. In the next, she could be scolding a follower for a minor transgression, or complaining about her physical discomfort. That raw, unfiltered presentation felt authentic to believers. It wasn't a polished performance. It was a real-time glimpse into the life of a supposed deity with human frailties and frustrations. Followers could tune in any time of day and feel connected. Comment sections became virtual meeting places where believers could interact, share their experiences. So, a significant part of the Love Has Won operation, involved rejecting mainstream medicine and instead promoting their own, pretty unorthodox remedies. Amy Carlson taught her followers that every illness, whether it was cancer or addiction, was caused by energetic blockages and low vibrations from what she called the 3D world. Because of that, she claimed that conventional medical treatments weren't just ineffective, but were actually harmful tools of the so-called Cabal, designed to keep folks sick and disconnected from their divine nature. This deep mistrust of the medical establishment really became a cornerstone of their whole belief system. So, instead of doctors or hospitals, the group sold and promoted a whole range of products through their website. The most notorious of these was colloidal silver. That's basically a suspension of tiny silver particles in liquid, and they touted it as a cure-all. They claimed it could fix everything from the common cold to cancer, even COVID-19. Followers were told to drink large amounts, sometimes several bottles a day. Amy herself was a heavy user, believing that it was essential for purifying her body so she could handle all the immense divine energies she claimed to be channeling. But y'all, the consequences of relying on these alternative remedies were severe. Drinking a lot of colloidal silver can lead to a condition called argyria, which, well, causes your skin to turn a permanent, irreversible bluish gray. Within the group, this was seen as a visible sign of devotion, a physical manifestation of faith. Amy Carlson's own skin took on a distinct blue hue, but her followers didn't see it as a symptom of silver poisoning. Instead, they took it as proof of her rising divinity and otherworldly nature. To them, it meant she was becoming more ethereal, more godlike. Now, this rejection of professional medical care went way beyond just colloidal silver. When Amy's health started to visibly and severely decline, her followers didn't seek help from doctors. They didn't see her suffering as a medical emergency, but as a spiritual battle. They believed she was physically taking on all the negative energy of the world, absorbing humanity's karma in order to cleanse the planet. Her pain, in their eyes, was a necessary sacrifice, a testament to her love for humanity. Her body was the battlefield for the soul of the world, and their role was to support her with faith, not with medicine. Every ounce of weight she lost, every moment of pain she endured, was seen as a heroic sacrifice for the salvation of humanity. Her suffering wasn't a sign of sickness to them. It was a measure of her divine power. The group's live streams during this period, well, they became pretty hard to watch. They documented her decline in excruciating detail. In April of 2021, Amy Carlson died. The exact date is, well, uncertain, but her body was found by police on April 28, 2021. She was 45 years old. She didn't die in a hospital, surrounded by medical professionals. She died in a house out in rural Colorado, surrounded by her most devout followers. But you know, her death was not the end of the story for them. It was, instead, the beginning of a new, even stranger chapter. They did not believe she was truly gone. They believed she had simply ascended, shedding her physical vessel to continue her work from a higher dimension. Following her death, her followers did not call the authorities. Instead, they embarked on a bizarre and tragic final act of devotion. Believing Amy would be resurrected, believing she would be picked up by a spaceship, they kept her body. They wrapped her in a sleeping bag, adorned her with Christmas lights and placed glitter makeup around her eyes, which were missing. They effectively created a makeshift shrine around her mummified remains. This act, while shocking to the outside world, made perfect sense within their belief system. They were not desecrating a corpse. They were tending to the sacred vessel of their mother god. The group then transported her body. They drove with her remains from Oregon, a journey over 1,000 miles, to a follower's home in a small, remote community near Creston, Colorado. This journey of over 1,000 miles was a final, desperate pilgrimage. Creston is known as a hub for various spiritual seekers and alternative beliefs, and it's possible they believed it was a spiritually potent location for her supposed ascension. It was during this time that a former member who had grown concerned finally alerted the police to the situation. When law enforcement arrived at the house in Colorado, they made a gruesome discovery. They found the mummified, decaying body of Amy Carlson in a back bedroom. The scene was surreal, a decomposing body decorated like a shrine with the remaining followers seemingly waiting for a miracle. 7 of her followers were arrested and faced charges related to the abuse of a corpse and child abuse, as children were present in the home. The tragic journey of Mother God had finally come to an end, not with a divine ascension, but with a police raid. The discovery of Amy Carlson's body sent shockwaves through the small community of Crestone and made headlines across the nation. Their sacred vigil was interrupted and their beliefs were suddenly subject to the scrutiny of the legal system. The arrests marked a definitive end to the physical existence of Love Has Won as a communal living group. For the followers who were arrested, the legal process was a bewildering experience. They were charged with crimes that, in their worldview, they had not committed. One might expect the death of a leader and the gruesome discovery of her body to shatter the faith of her followers. In many cases, it might. But for the remaining believers of Love Has Won, Amy Carlson's death was not a failure. It was a validation. It was the ultimate proof of her sacrifice. In their narrative, she had successfully absorbed all of the world's pain and had now ascended, leaving her broken physical form behind. Her death was not an end, but a triumph, a final necessary step in her plan to save humanity. The remaining members, particularly Jason Castillo and other key figures, reframed the narrative for their online audience. They claimed to be in communication with Mother God in her ascended 5D form. The live streams continued, now featuring followers who would channel messages from Amy. These messages reassured believers that the mission was ongoing and that she was more powerful than ever. Her physical absence allowed her to become a purely divine figure. She was now a perfect, celestial martyr. This enduring belief speaks to the immense power of motivated reasoning. When individuals have invested so much of their lives, their identities. In the end, how do we make sense of Amy Carlson? Was she a cynical grifter who manipulated vulnerable people for money and power? Or was she a deeply troubled individual, a victim of her own delusions who believed she was divine and on a mission to save the world? The uncomfortable truth is that she was likely both. It is a false dichotomy. Human beings are rarely that simple. There is no doubt she was a perpetrator of immense harm. She encouraged her followers to abandon their families, give up their life savings, reject life-saving medical care. Her teachings led to her own preventable death and caused immeasurable emotional and psychological damage to followers. The environment she cultivated was one of control, manipulation, abuse. People's lives were derailed, and in her case ended, because of the belief system she created. This responsibility cannot be ignored. Yet it is also hard not to see Amy as a victim. Her personal history was marked by struggles, and her Mother God descent seemed a response to powerlessness and pain. She became captive to her own system. In her final months, she was as much a victim of love as one's medical neglect as anyone. She built her own prison and ultimately died in it.